Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Indie Film Wrap. Today we have special guest Allie McGarel, all the way from sunny California. Allie, how's it going?
It's going good.
So you're a Chicago native, is that correct?
Yeah, Chicago area, Chicagoland, originally from Naperville, but always was in the city when I was there. So,
what is your actor or filmmaker origin story? What got you started or inspired?
yeah, so I don't even remember like a moment where I was like, oh, I want to be an actress. It was just always sort of what I wanted to do. When I was very little, I started performing. So started in theater and did theater all throughout, middle school, high school, all those things. And then I would say in about maybe 2013, I started to get more into film. And I started auditioning for indie films and student films. And I just found that medium, I liked it so much better than theater because it was so much more intimate. And I just loved the fact that like the slightest little raise of an eyebrow could tell so much, or just the slightest little flicker of a smile could say so much without needing to like broadcast all these, big emotions. So that's when my love for acting started to flip more towards on camera acting rather than like on stage.
I often think about with film acting, like with theater, I'm usually diving into a role and kind of adding things on to create this awesome character and to, fill out this life. And with film, in some ways, it's more about what am I stripping away or what am I, taking off.
I love that metaphor. And I think too, like, just they say like kids are like the best actors because they're so uninhibited and so like real and there. And when you go throughout middle school and high school, in some ways, they kind of also teach you sometimes the wrong way to act, in the sense that you are like really putting on and trying and to emote things.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, once you get out of like, the school system, a lot of the schools that I've been to in like the city of Chicago or out in LA, it's about, okay, rewiring and taking back some of those things that you were taught about acting.
I know this can be a difficult decision for, many high school seniors. Do I pursue acting or do I pursue, a degree in business or communications? So for you, what was that choice? Was it challenging with your parents, or were they supportive?
Well, first I went to community college, College DuPage, which I loved for 2 years. And then I transferred to North Central College. And I double majored in marketing and theater. And really the only reason that I double majored was to satisfy my parents. They would not have helped me pay for school if I had not have gotten that marketing degree. So that was honestly more of like a fallback degree.
Do you want to share a little bit about something that you've learned with the marketing to help your advertising, and then something with the acting that has helped in the marketing?
As an actor, you're kind of your own business, right? It's like sounds bad, but you're the product, that you're just trying to sell and market. So yeah, in a lot of ways, like the marketing degree helped in the sense of like, with social media, I make sure that my Instagram and all that is like my right brand that I want to sell as an actor, and different ways of that. And when I'm, sending out postcards or whatever, I think that the marketing degree definitely helped in the aesthetic sense of how do I want to sell myself and what's my brand, right?
Yeah, and you touched on something very, very insightful about marketing yourself, and you are a brand. And I think that is applicable to filmmakers too. And I know for me, one of the biggest lessons as an actor working with my reel in particular was don't put stuff on there that you don't want to be seen as. If you don't want to be seen as the dumb blonde character, then don't put that footage on your reel.
Right.
And I think that it's, I've always been told, and this like definitely opened and awakened like my direction as far as acting and helping me focus and get more specific.
Yeah.
It's you want to put the work on there that you seek to get. And so I think with filmmakers too, this is a great nugget where if they have, maybe they've mostly been doing commercials, but they really want to get into more film noir. Well, then have your reel be only the film noir project that you've done, or shoot that and make that a separate thing instead of like, oh, I have, 2 minutes of commercial work on my cinematographer reel. And then I have this,
Right.
amazing little clip of film noir that's really my passion.
Right.
So
Building upon that, I think it was Bonnie Gillespie, one of the people that I follow. She always says that like your resume, you should start to trim it at some point because it should be a roadmap to your next level and what you want, and should show buyers like where you're going versus like where you've been. So it's not super helpful to have all these like college credits that don't really show like your next level steps and only show like, oh yeah, like she did all this stuff, but what does it really say about where you want to go? And similarly with the reel, I've also heard like, it's sometimes it's maybe better to not have one out there in the universe than have one out there in the universe that you're sending that you're not proud of, that's like crappy,
yeah.
not good footage, that's not good quality stuff. So sometimes quality over quantity, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a very great point. And, going, bringing it back to filmmakers too, with things
Yeah.
like their social media or Instagram pages, instead of putting every project they've ever done, it's, how do I shape this in a way that if someone looks at my Instagram and they see, what I'm putting forth, they get an idea of what my brand is, or what my feel is, or my artistic direction. So
Exactly.
cool. And I think it's also important to note that a lot of the projects that we as actors and filmmakers, writers, directors, the whole gambit, a lot of projects we work on are going to be for learning purposes.
Right.
Like we may go into it thinking this is going to be amazing. I'm going to sell it to HBO.
Right.
My big break is here. But in reality, a lot of these initial projects are a learning tool. You make
Yes.
those mistakes so that you can learn from them.
Right.
And I want to kind of bring that back to some of the work you've been doing, because
Yeah.
I feel like it's so important as an actor to diversify your skills.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about what was the impetus to start writing or directing and producing, and what are some of the things you've been learning in that journey or process?
I wanted to write my own work and produce my own work solely for the purpose of becoming SAG eligible. But so at first it was just for that reason. But then I found it was very empowering to be in control of, not having to wait on somebody else to cast me, and not having to audition for roles that like, maybe it's not exactly the kind of character that I'd want to play, but I want something on my reel. So, I'm going to do it. Or I think it's just very empowering to make something that you want out there for yourself and that shows what you can really do, right? So a couple of years ago, me and my business partner at the time, Emily Rose Dano, we did a web series pilot called That Moment When. We did it all, right? So even though we were like partners, we both wrote on it, we both were co-producing it, and we both like co-directed it, right? So I think just the lesson was that we took too much on.
Oh,
I think we thought, oh, with two of us, if we're both doing these things, then, we can switch off, and one of us is acting, one of us is directing, and vice versa, that would be enough. And we could both just share all those responsibilities. And it just turned out to be too much, right? It also really made me appreciate the other side of filmmaking, because I had really only been on the acting side, and how much pre-planning does go into it, scheduling and the casting,
locations,
trying to secure location, trying to secure money, budgeting. I definitely, if I were to do it again, take more time, crowdfunding and really, getting more money so that I could allocate some different positions and take more time with different departments. It was a good first learning experience. And so now, as I'm writing some new projects that I'm excited about, I'm excited to take what I've learned and apply it to the new things. And hopefully, the next project that I do will be something, really of great quality. And I'm excited for the future. Yeah.
From that experience,
Mhm.
with writing, directing, producing, taking on everything,
Yes.
was there something specifically that stuck that you want to continue to pursue? And it sounds like that might be writing for you. And was
Yeah.
writing a hobby that you had prior, or this kind of instigated it?
I think this kind of instigated it in the sense that I was like, oh, wait, I can do this. I can
Mm,
write. I do
yeah.
have some good ideas. I mean, I was always a good writer in the sense that I would
Mhm.
say, always the honors English kid throughout high school,
College
18 honors.
papers,
Yes.
on point.
But as far as like, screenwriting, that was like a whole different thing that I didn't know that I could do or not. And in this pandemic, I've even honed those skills even more. There was a free course online. I think it's called Young Screenwriters. It's like a free course. I think they still offer it for free. You can take online. Through that whole process, at the end of it, you should have a short film. I wrote a short film through that process that I'm proud of. And now I'm in the early stages of writing a pilot for television. It's good to explore different areas of the filmmaking process because you never know what you could also be good at.
So what would you say to, maybe there's an a young actress or actor or filmmaker out there who wants to try writing but is a little intimidated? What advice would you give them to get started?
I would say it's A, not as intimidating as you'd think, and B, that you have your own unique ideas that, are important to share with the world.
Mm,
Every person, has a different mind and thinks differently and, um, you know, dreams differently. And so, you know, I think it's important that you don't sell yourself short and say, well, I don't have anything to say, or I don't think anyone would really care about what I have to say, or because I would say that's probably not true. I think everyone has some really great ideas. And if you just start to do it, it'll start to flow. The hardest part is just the initial, like putting pen to paper or keyboard or hands to keyboard and
yeah.
starting it. But once you get going, I think you'll find that it flows a lot easier than you might have anticipated.
Okay, I want to also touch on your transition. Coming from Chicago, the Midwest to LA, which is a very different place.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, to also talk about the highs and the lows.
Hmm.
So, what was that process like, moving?
Yeah.
And has it, what are some of the struggles that you've been finding as an actor, and what are some of the joys you've been finding in LA?
So I decided to take the leap from Chicago to LA, because my soul was just telling me that I needed to do it.
Mm,
That voice in the back of my head was like, you've always wanted to live in LA. This is what you want to do. That's where you want to be.
yeah.
And B, I just felt like I had done all that I could in Chicago in the sense that I was like a little workhorse and I was doing all the open castings and I was, sending all of the postcards and doing all the things and taking all the classes and workshops. And I felt just like my type wasn't much needed in Chicago. I think Chicago
Mm,
in general is a little bit of an older market,
mm.
you know, and so I felt like my type is a lot of 18 to play younger teenage shows, and that's not what we have in Chicago.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just felt like, yes, LA, the pool is 10 times bigger, but the opportunities are also 10 times bigger, or 10 times more opportunities.
Yeah. And I want to
So
I want to take a moment just to expand on that, because I think that's a great tip for actors and filmmakers out there. What is the work being produced in that city? So it's not just about like, am I going to be comfortable living here? Is the work being produced there? Does
Hmm.
that match your energy or your style or your aesthetic? Like, take a
Right.
look at the shows that are being shot in New York and the films versus Boston or
Hmm.
Atlanta or Texas or
Right.
LA, and what is going to work with you and your type. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, definitely do research and see, where your style or skills would be the best appreciated. And I think too, when I came out here, I realized like, there's just as much of an indie community in LA as there is in Chicago, in the sense that, I came out here and, I started self-submitting like I usually had done in Chicago, and I booked a couple different indie films, pretty quickly out here. So I think it's not as difficult as you may think. And also, like, the opportunities, if you're doing indie films in Chicago, you can also do the same thing in LA if this is where you want to be, right? Not everything is this big budget, scary, super competitive project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
all
There's
sorts of levels.
opportunity. Yeah. Among the whole gambit, the
Yeah,
whole gambit.
yeah, at all levels. My first year out in LA, I really hit the ground running, and I was surprised. I think I just it just shows like how your mindset and your
Mm.
energy can
Hmm.
really manifest for yourself what you want. And
Yeah.
I think I just came out to LA and was so excited about all the new opportunities, and everything was so shiny and magical. And I did really well my first year. I got an agent, I got a manager. I did get into SAG, which was exciting. And so a lot of things, did happen with that energy. And I think the challenge with LA is
Mm.
keeping that up, because
Mm.
it's really easy to get in a slump if things aren't happening super quickly. Um, because there are people out here that have been at it for a long time, and things haven't worked out as well as they thought, and they have, a sort of negative attitude towards the business, and all those sorts of things. So I think it's protecting your energy and not letting other people's like negative views of the industry, or
They're
glass half empty, views and energy, affect you, and still be positive and still have that forward motion.
Yeah, there's definitely a handful of people in LA who, they get discouraged or a little jaded. And I
Right.
think you're right. You have to kind of know yourself and protect that.
Right.
And I really feel like with bigger cities too, as someone who's lived in LA and New York, you have to find your people. You have to find your tribe or
Yes.
your community or what is feeding you
Yes.
creatively.
I totally agree with that. And I would say that is a big difference between Chicago and LA, in the sense that Chicago is that Midwestern friendliness, where I feel like it's easier to make friends and be around people. Whereas LA, because we drive everywhere, there's everyone's in their bubbles. I was lucky and fortunate enough to have friends that had already previously moved here. So when I
Mm,
got here, I was able to, just kind of slide into that friend group. And so
yeah.
I think it is kind of hard, if you don't know anybody, try to move out here with a friend, or maybe find, I found like an actors like accountability mastermind group that I'm a part of.
Oh, awesome.
And I've befriended people in that too. So if that's a great way to make friends and build relationships and network. So
And with that, in building relationships online, because I know there's different ways to go about it. For you, did you find that, that this was something, this accountability group, you would just, you know, post a question, or you just interact with people through the posts and then build a relationship that way, or you'd see someone's work that you like? How did you go about fostering those relationships? And if you can share the name of the accountability group, if it's open or public.
at first, when I first came out here, it was like once a month we would meet in person.
Oh,
Right
cool.
now, we meet online on Zoom once a month. Um, But yeah, so when we would meet in person, we would kind of share our wins for the month, our wills for the month. Like, I will do this by this time, I will do this by this time. And, people would hold us accountable. Then the next meetup, check in, did you do that thing that you said you were going to do? Right. And
Oh yeah.
also just bouncing off ideas, for, say I was making my own content at the time and asking people like, hey, I'm having trouble securing a location, or hey, do we know any sound people or whatever, because the group is more of a hyphenate mastermind group. It's not just for actors, but there's writers in there, and directors and producers and all that too. So we just call ourselves like actor mastermind or hyphenate artist mastermind. But the name of the woman that runs it, her name is Courtney Shane. And so I would reach out to her, or you can reach out to me, and then I can connect you with her.
Cool.
So.
I think that's great for, people moving to LA who need that accountability.
Yes. I'm the type of person, like, unless there's somebody like checking up on me, like I might fall and not do the thing. So
I'm the same way. I do well with deadlines. Give me a deadline.
Me too. Give me a deadline. That's why I was so good in school, because there was deadlines, there was hard deadlines.
So I would also love to hear from you some stories on set. I think this is, always like fun for people who maybe aren't in the industry, but who are just, watching and listening because they're interested tangentially. Mm-hmm. Like, what are some, it can be like, oh, wow, that was an awesome moment on set, or that was a crazy moment on set, or, ooh, avoid that next time. Any of those on set stories?
There was a food fight scene. So it was a film between me and my mom. We were the only two characters. And there was a big, epic food fight. And we were filming in somebody's house. So they lined the wallpaper with like fake wallpaper, so that if we like things ended up on the walls and stuff,
smart.
It wouldn't stain the wall. And there was just a whole entire table of food. And it was one of those moments that, the director came over and was like, okay, we got to do this right the first time, because we can't just reset. We couldn't reset all the food, and we didn't have extra food. We couldn't reset all our wardrobe and our makeup and everything with the budget we were having. So it was kind of like a one take. We got to do this, and it's got to look good. So just the director was just like, okay, have fun, go at it. And he was like, I don't want any food left on the table. It's like, okay. It was really fun in the moment, and I think we did accidentally get some food on the actual wall of the house on accident. But I mean, afterwards, I felt really disgusting and gross. But during it, it was really, really fun. But afterwards, I was like looking at myself like, oh God, okay, can I shower?
Yeah, I feel like that would be so much fun as an actor in that scene, but as like a director or producer on that project, or even the crew, I would be like, oh, the equipment.
I know. I'm sure we covered the cameras or something. I'm sure we probably accidentally got some of the camera ops, with food on accident, probably. I don't know.
Well, Allie, this has been so great. Can you share with us any projects that you're looking forward to, or that we should check out?
I just did a viral video with Smile Squad. They're on Instagram, and they're also on Facebook. It's called When Your Friend is from Chicago. So I had such a fun blast doing that. And right now I'm just working on writing this new pilot that I'm really excited about, that is very early stages, so I'm not going to share anything yet.
Allie, thank you so much for joining us today on Indie Film Wrap. It was great having you on as a guest. And where can people find you on social media?
So Instagram is probably the best place, at Allie McGarel, ALIMCGAREL.
Awesome. Thanks for being part of our show.
Thank you for having me. It was great.